All right, welcome back. I didn't actually get to test this before I got on, but it looks pretty cool. So I don't know if I may not have talked about it last week, but I was going to make a 3D version of Corey that could join me while we're live streaming when the real Corey isn't here. So put together a quick little animation in Blender, but I didn't actually get to preview it in OBS before I before I went live. So I literally just rendered it out. Um, Let me adjust it real quick. He needs to be more centered. Maybe so. Well, you can't really see his MacBook there on the table, but maybe I'll show you the blend files later. There we go. Look at that. He's alive. That's awesome. Sorry, I was clipping a little bit there. Trying to adjust my volume. All right, so as you can see, I'm alone again. Well, not entirely, but today we're going to be taking we're actually going to take a break from the music video because I want Corey to be here while we're doing that. I want to get his input on stuff, so we're going to actually look at something different in the meantime. So this is not part of our series that we started here. This will be a little bit of a conversation about importing from Blender that we've been showing a lot on the stream and into Unreal Engine, which is Epic's game engine that is, I've come to really like using it. It is, the base version of it is free, so that's why I like showing it, is that you don't have to buy anything to get anything extra, so students can download it and use it. As long as you've got a beefy enough machine, it will work really well for you. Of course, other options like Unity, and another one that I really want to get into that is actually also free is Godot, and it's open source like Blender is. I've heard some really good things, and they're constantly updating it and adding new features. They just switched over to a new render engine in the new version. So I'm contemplating whether or not I want to jump over there and at least learn some stuff, but I've really enjoyed working with Unreal, and I really enjoyed all the resources that are out there for it. There's a lot of great training and stuff. That's one thing that Godot doesn't quite have yet, is just the backlog of training and resources and documentation and stuff like that. It's getting better every day, but it definitely, for someone like me who's teaching themselves how to use a game engine, how to do game development, didn't really take any classes like that in college or anything. So it's all pretty new, and without much documentation, it's very hard to learn stuff. So, and plus, when it comes to the programming side of things, Unreal has what's called blueprints. We'll look a little bit at it when we jump in to Unreal in a bit, which are essentially a visual scripting language. So you take nodes, very much like in Blender, when you have different nodes for, say, like textures or geometry nodes or anything like that. It's all node based, and I'll give you a better description of it later when we look at it. It's a little bit easier to understand when you actually see it in action. So, and also the other great thing about Unreal is that it is becoming more and more of a industry standard in VFX and things like that. So if anyone out there seen The Mandalorian, that is actually, a lot of it is filmed on a set that is essentially a big screen. There's some really great behind the scenes videos out there that I would recommend checking out if you're interested in VFX and stuff like that, because to me, that's the future of that, of like the industry there, is you can essentially, they're utilizing Unreal Engine in its real-time game. I mean, it's, games have come so far that a lot of them can look, especially if you have, maxed out settings and things like that, you can get some results that are practically indistinguishable from real life. And so they are utilizing that technology as essentially a replacement for green screens. And the great thing about that is that it is essentially huge panels, like TV screens, huge along the walls. And so when what the camera sees is Unreal Engine, but it's, lighting the scene, it's reacting to camera movements and things, and you can live update. So say it's like raining in your scene or something, or you change it from night to day, you can do all that live. You can literally just change a setting in Unreal and it switches to nighttime, and then your whole set changes. So I definitely recommend going and checking out some of the Mandalorian behind the scenes stuff. More and more productions are using it. I know they're quite expensive sets, but there are actually ways that you can do something very similar with a green screen and compositing in Unreal. That's something I want to show off soon. I'm still learning how to do it, and I think some of the features are fairly new still, or at least like being beta tested and need some updating. And one of my big problems is some of the tools don't actually work on Android phones. You can utilize your cell phone as like a camera or for getting face tracking data and stuff, but it only works on iPhones. So I think there's some workarounds for Android when it comes to the virtual camera stuff, but I need to look into that more. But yeah, I do want to demo that, especially once we get our green screen set up out in the studio at some point, hopefully, fingers crossed. So anyways, let's jump into Blender and check out this tool that I have been using for the past few weeks, and show you how you can get characters. 1 second, I gotta find my, there we go. Hey, look, Corey there he is watching himself. So this is our Corey model, a good demo model, just a base humanoid model. And I say I want to bring Corey here into a game. We can make a whole game out of it, and utilize this character model. Right now he doesn't have any bones or anything, so we need to give him some kind of bone structure so that when we control him in the game, he can walk and run and all that stuff. So one thing about Blender, from my experience going from Blender to Unreal, there's a lot of great add-ons out there, but the built-in tools that we have, like say you have Rigify, like I've showed in the past that I usually use to animate in Blender, do not translate very well to, or at all for that matter, into Unreal. So we need to find a different way to do that. It's because they handle bones differently. The two different softwares handle things differently. There's things with like the direction of bones and all this other stuff that it makes it kind of a nightmare sometimes. But luckily, we do have a lot of awesome add-ons for Blender. The one I'm going to be showing you guys today is called Game Ready Tools. This particular one is made for Unreal Engine 5, which has a new skeleton compared to Unreal Engine 4. So good to know the difference if you're getting into it, because there's still a lot of like old legacy stuff from 4. And a lot of it is compatible in some way, but you gotta, you look for, make sure you know what the changes are and what you need to adjust in order to make it work. But this particular version of Game Ready Tools, I do suggest it. I may add a link to our description. It's a pay what you can add-on. So if you want to support the development of it, you can. Otherwise, you can get it for free. Try it out. I have paid for it. I really like this plugin. I definitely recommend it. So definitely go and check it out. I will add a link in the description so you can see for yourself. There are other tools out there, but this one seems to work the best for me. So let's just get into it. So over here, when you add the add-on, of course, going to preferences, add-ons, you should get a zip file. You can see I have it installed here. Check that box and we're good to go. And you'll end up in your little tab menu over here. You'll have this Game Ready Tools tab that you can open up, and you can select from either the Unreal Engine 4 or the Unreal Engine 5 mannequin. So I'm going to do 5 because that's what we're going to be demoing, and then I want to just initiate this mannequin here. So you can see we get a whole bunch of things, and it's a little bit overwhelming, but we're going to make sense of it all here pretty quick. So you have these different setups. Essentially, this is the confusing part of why it's kind of a challenging thing to get models that are rigged from Blender to Unreal and have them all work, is because if you see here, this, if I click on this button, this will bring up just the Unreal mannequin, and you can see the bones are all in different directions, and this would be a nightmare to try to actually build in or animate with on your character. I'll show you a little bit of animation later if we get to it, but so we don't want this. We don't want to use this right now. We want to set up this particular rig, the tweak rig, because we want this to fit our character, and then there's one for the deform bones. So essentially the process is setting this up, matching this to our mannequin or to our character here, then weighting our character to the deform bones, and then once that's all done and we have everything weighted and all that, we can then there's a button here to switch the parent armature, and we would switch that over to the Unreal armature, and then it's ready to be exported. So how we want to do this is, starting with this one, we want to line this up like we would the, I've shown quite a few times on stream, doing this with the Rigify. I'm actually going to put Corey here in more of an A pose. So I'm just going to go into edit mode and bring his arms down a little bit. The T pose is fine, but the A pose is a little bit easier to work with. Whoops. I just want to move my 3D cursor point there so that I can rotate his arms down. Maybe I'll go one less and turn on my, oh, I have it on. I'm just going to get a little bit of a, more of a relaxed pose, sort of match the mannequin more. Maybe even bring his arms in a little bit. Cool. And this rig does, or this character does not have fingers, so I may even look from the top and rotate in a bit. I can scale up my proportional editing tool and kind of match what's there. His arms are sort of bent, but I can bring that back just to go from the top. So I'm just moving my 3D cursor, whoops, which is shift and the right click. And that sets your 3D cursor to this little thing. And then I'm pivoting from that point. So like it's the joint there, just to kind of simulate as if he had bones there. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Let's go with that. Cool. Okay. So to start with, if we take this, the mesh or the bones here, and we go into pose mode, we can, there's these little like widgets here that we can grab and move. So I'm just gonna grab this base one, and whoops, I gotta switch my, so I'm gonna do medium point, and then I can scale this up a decent amount. It actually lines up really well. I mean, I have to do a whole lot here. And once that's good, we can go in and change these around. And I just want this to line up with, this one doesn't actually rotate that way, so I need to, so I just want to line these up the best I can. We've done this before. I've shown off how to do this with the meta rig from Rigify. And then we can grab the hand, rotate that, double tapping R, you can spin. I'm just gonna, for the fingers, I'm just gonna leave him as is. He'll have kind of like mittens, but that's fine. I'm not too worried about that. I'm not focusing on, this isn't the main part of this video. Is not about how to properly rig a character. It's more just showing you what you can use to do so. So that looks fine. I'm not gonna go too much into it. And the rest of him is actually pretty good. So over here we have, you can see I can toggle on and off. That's like the body parts there. Let's look at the head. Yeah, that's fine. Then you can go more in depth with each of the fingers. And then you have the extra, even more precise bone movements here. So like for the feet, I gotta scale these in quite a bit and move this back to match. And just make sure you have your X mirror on while you're doing this. That way you can actually mirror this across to the other side. So you can't actually, like normally you would be able to grab these joints and move them around, but you can't do that with this one. You have to grab these little, the little widgets that it's made for us. Otherwise it will not work the way you want it to. It actually won't let you move the bones by themselves. which is quite interesting. It took me a minute to figure that out. I had to go and rewatch the video a few times and then realize that you can't really grab the bones at all. You have to grab these, which is fine. It works good. I'm just going to slightly move this back. Remember, the spine doesn't really go where the spine actually is on a real person. It kind of goes through the middle of your character. So hopefully I don't have any problems with that. Let's call that good. So now that that's done and that's pretty well lined up, I want to apply the rig. And what that does is move all the other pieces. So all of the other two, the deform and the Unreal one, it matches it to what we just did, what we just moved around. So now if I switch to one of these, you can see they're in the right place. So I should be able to, hopefully this works, click on my character, shift click on my mesh, Control P, automatic weights, and it looks like it worked. So we can go into pose mode, grab a bone. Yes, it did work. Nice. Okay, cool. So it's not perfect. Obviously, we could go into a lot more detail with this and do some weighting and stuff, but I'm not worried about that at the moment. I just want to get this into Unreal. So now that we have that, we can switch our rig, control rig, over to the Unreal one. So all we have to do is switch parent armature, and then you'll see that the deform mesh doesn't do anything anymore. But if we switch over to the Unreal one, go into pose mode, and move that, and that moves our character. So now we're actually ready to send it off. So what I want to do is select these two and go to, so there in some of the documentation for this add-on, they use the Blender to Rigify or Blender to Unreal. There's an add-on developed by the Unreal team to export and like build a pipeline between Blender and Unreal, and that works really well. I didn't have time to set that up on here, so I'm just going to show you how to do it manually. And if you don't have this add-on, then don't worry about it. You can still export as a regular FPX. I don't actually know, hopefully there's not any extra settings because I did not research that, but we can go to File and Export and then go to FBX. I have a few other, I want this Corey UE5 FBX here. And one thing I want to make sure is that my materials are baked to this mesh so that I don't have to worry about it importing the materials separately. So if you set your patch mode to copy and click this little button right here, it says embed textures, just make sure that the textures go with it. And then I don't need any animations, so just scroll down a little bit. I think the transforms should all be the same. Scale should be fine. I want to just do selected objects only. Yeah, that should be good. Okay. So let's export that, and it should have gone. So then let's jump over into Unreal Engine. So I should have it up here, and sorry if you can hear my computer because Unreal is a little bit more demanding. But here we are. This is the default third-person character game template. So if we hit play here at the top, you'll see I have, this is Quinn. There's Manny and Quinn, the two like characters for Unreal 5. The cool thing about this version that was not in the old third-person template is, as you can see, Quinn has some really nice IK feet, which is great. Sort of, it mostly works until you get to an edge, but for the most part, you get, yeah, like that. That's super nice, built right in. I didn't change anything. This is a brand new project. So see, we got a run, and there's actually a walk on this too. If we had a controller, there's a walk animation, but of course you need the analog input, which I'm just using the keyboard right now, so I don't have that. But I can jump around, can actually push these blocks around too, which is cool. So yeah, but we want this character to be Corey instead. So just a little bit about Unreal if you've never used it before. The navigation around is a little bit different. So holding the right mouse button kind of locks into your camera, and it becomes like if anybody's done, spectator view on anything or in Minecraft or whatever, WASD will it will move you around in space. So it's actually very similar to the in Blender doing the walk navigation. So although this one you don't have to hold the button down, but it's same controls. So WASD moves it around. You can select and move things just like in Blender. The hotkeys are a little bit different, but overall it's pretty much the same. You've got your different translation tools up here. You can scale, rotate, all that good stuff, and move. So, and then if I control space, this is our content browser. So this is all the things that are just in our game. So I did add the starter content, which is something you can pick when you first start up an Unreal project. And we can go into let's see, there's some architecture things. There's some props. So in here, like say we want a chair. We can drag and drop the chair. It was a little bit laggy when it first came in. It's got to process its textures and things, but there we go. There's a chair. So now if I play, there should be just a chair sitting there. Yep. Cool. So there's us a chair. Simple as that. So it's easy enough to bring in like static meshes. Hopefully Unreal didn't just crash. I'll just leave it for a second. It's easy enough to bring in static meshes to Unreal. So like if we had exported Corey and had just dragged and dropped in that FBX file without an armature on it, it usually comes in really easy. It's the minute you start adding bones and things like that, it gets a little bit more complicated. Hello, Unreal? Are you upset with me? All I did was add a chair. Hopefully I'm still alive. It looks like it.